Hey everyone, welcome to my EVO experience. Basically what I did was I took all the video I had off my phone and just kind of stitched them together in chronological order. So I just wanted to basically talk about my experience at EVO since it was my very first one. I've always been a fan of EVO just by watching their streams, and I never really thought I would attend in person, but ever since I started getting like really into fighting games, I thought I'd give it a shot. So yeah, let's get it started. So here's day one, right? Day zero was basically just me getting my badge, which I'll probably show what my badge looked like, because I got like a Street Fighter one. And this is basically the entrance area. Yeah, the Arc System Works booth was right there in the front, and as you could see, they had Toukon there, and the lines were huge. This was day one, and the lines were already huge. If you look, yeah, here's the Toukon stations, and then you could see part of the line here. It actually wraps around towards the back, and then it like does like a few zigzag formations, and then it like goes all the way to like the end of their booth near like the Crunchyroll booth. I don't know if you could see that in the start of the video, but yeah, this line was always long. And so day one was basically tournament day, right? So that was me walking in, and then here's me trying to find my tournament area. My first basically in-person tournament. You can see everything starting to fill up now. So the way it went for me was, you know, my first match, I didn't do so hot. I think the guy I was fighting was actually, I forgot his name, but there was like a bunch of people recording him, so I think maybe he was kind of a popular player. But my round one losers match actually went, I went 2-0, so I was able to actually beat somebody. And then unfortunately my third match, round two losers, I had some trouble with my controller. I don't know if it was because I was like nervous or something, but when I went to test my controller buttons on the test screen, I think I may have changed one of my inputs because my drive impact button just stopped working, or it just wasn't active, and it threw me off. And so when I went back to go fix it for the second round, I accidentally switched my parry and drive impact, so it really threw me off. So I ended up going 0-2 my second round because of that stupid mistake. But always do a button check before a match is all I'm gonna say. And yeah, so this was the Toukon panel. I was hoping they were gonna announce something. I think everybody kind of gathered here because they thought they would announce something, but this is just a lot of the things they said during this panel is stuff that we already knew. I think before this, they actually put out like a YouTube video that was like a beginner's guide thing, which I think they're going to show here in a second. Just so that people can kind of understand the basics of the controls before they get their hands on the game. Because I did get a chance to play Toukon a couple times, and the game is really fun, but there's a lot going on, a lot of like mechanics. So the game itself doesn't really seem that hard to play, but like the amount of like mechanics and stuff that's behind all of that is pretty crazy. And I honestly didn't really understand fully what I was doing. They only give you 10 minutes to play, so on top of trying to figure out like each character, because you have 4 characters, right? And once you build up like your team, you can like switch between characters. So on top of just trying to figure out each character, I'm trying to figure out what each mechanic does. And then I was playing on a controller too, so I was trying to figure all that out. Yeah, but it was a really fun experience. I had a lot of fun playing Toukon, and unfortunately, the beta that's coming up is actually PS5 only, which I don't have right now. And I don't think there's any plans to do a PC beta anytime soon. But if you do have a PS5, I highly recommend trying to get in because, like I said, it's a ton of fun. But right after that was the OG hunt with Betty and Justin. And I was really excited. This is one of the things I was really excited for. So this is basically the start, right? The introduction. Betty comes out, Justin comes out. So what OG Hunt is basically Betty challenges a bunch of fighting game players who have been around for a while. And she tries to beat them. And the format is a little weird, but she's been doing it for a while now. It's basically best of 6, right? And whoever can win, I think, 2 sets of, 6 matches is the winner. So yeah, I think you can win 12 games, then, or no, the format was weird because if they're in set 3 and they're both like tied, like they both have 5 wins or whatever, you have to win by 2. It's a little bizarre, but yeah, you'll see how it plays out in a second because I took a ton of footage from this event. This was something I was really looking forward to because I do watch Betty a lot, and yeah, she's a pretty well-known jury player at this point, and she's grown in popularity like over the past year or so. So it was just really cool to see live. Yeah, and I think this is her first time doing it outside of Japan too. But yeah, here's Justin. And Justin, yeah, a lot of people said this, but Justin is juggling so much as a content creator. Like he's been, doing family stuff. He's been doing like going to like different companies and looking at new games. And then he's been trying out a bunch of new games, on top of like making content for his channel. And it's well, if you don't know by now, you'll see what happens in the end. But basically at this point, Betty is basically undefeated. She's beaten every opponent she challenged. So this is, yeah, this is her first time, I think, outside of Japan doing the challenge. So yeah, I think they're gonna start soon. And this is basically set 1, round 1. I'm gonna be jumping forward a lot, but yeah, you'll see the back and forth because it was an interesting set of matches. So yeah, here's the start. Right. You could tell Justin kind of starts off pretty strong, right? He takes the first win, and then as you'll see, now it's actually Betty started to I forgot that Betty in the beginning was doing pretty well. Right, eventually it's going to tip over into Justin's favor, right? And I think this was the tipping point here. So now Justin's going to take this one to tie it up. Right, and now you can see it's 2-3, so Justin is about to get his 4th win. Yeah. Yep, and then there's the super. And if Justin, I think if Justin wins this, we go into set 2. I'm trying to remember what happens here. Oh, I think actually Betty. Okay, so yeah, Betty brings it up to 3-5. But eventually Justin does end up taking the first set. So this is the second set, right? The first set, Justin ended up winning. This is the start of the second set, which is why it says 0-0. And this is where Betty really starts to pick it up, right? You could tell Justin's still putting up a fight, but Betty's starting to make adjustments to really counter some of his stuff. Yeah, you can see now this is like the midway point. Betty's up 3-2. Right? And now she's up. Oh, it says where it ties up. Yeah, Justin gets this one for the tie. Dive kick. Right, and it's really close because if Justin takes this, that's it, right? He's only got to win two sets out of 6. So as you can see, Justin's just one game away from ending the hunt. But then Betty starts to make a comeback, right? So now she's up, you know, it's 4-5, she's up 1. Right, and then here she goes, tying it up. And then we take it. The final game in this set, right? Betty has to win this. Otherwise, that's it. And this part's crazy, right? So yeah, Justin does take this. So this is Betty's final chance. And this is where it gets crazy. The scramble at the end here is insane. Right, she gets the drive impact. Right. Justin jumps, gets the punish, and then she DPs. It's so crazy how that, it was so close. It was so close. So we go to set 3. This was crazy. And then here we are. This is set 3. I wasn't able to get the start of set 3, but this is kind of like the midway point. You can see it's tied 3-3. Very close. But this is the last set. Justin needs to win by 2 in order to close it out. And you can see, yeah, this, unfortunately, this last set is kind of where Betty falls apart, right? She was pulling strong, or she was getting, it seemed like she was getting better. But yeah, this is it. You could see the nerves are kicking in. I don't think she's ever been this close to losing before. So the nerves are just crawling all over the place right now. Like this is at 4-5. She's got to win this to keep it alive. If Justin wins this, it's over. Yeah. But man, these were some really fun matches to watch. I'm really glad I was able to see this one live. But there were some really great back and forth moments here. right? Like, I didn't capture everything. I was just trying to capture some of the big moments. I didn't even capture all of the big moments. But this is it. Yep, unfortunately, or fortunately, unless if you're a fan of Justin, he did win. This was the first loss for Betty on her OG hunt. Really, really fun sets. And I think both of them performed really well, but you could tell Betty was starting to kind of get nervous near the end. And yeah, here's day 2. So basically, since I was out of the tournament at that point, right, I didn't have to wake up early to go to any matches, because I dropped out round 1, basically. I was just able to kind of enjoy the convention at that point, right? This was the day I went to play Toukon a couple of times. You could see they had Invincible Versus there. Yeah, there's a big Tekken thing going on here. Yeah. But there was a lot on the show floor. Like a lot of stuff. Like Invincible Versus was there. 2XKO was there. You know, Street Fighter was there. But day three I actually do a pretty lengthy walk around the convention floor so you can see how it's laid out. But this is the museum portion. Yeah, I went to check out the museum. Here's like all the different controller stuff, right? They had like the EVO controller trophies and all the different like controller types. It's Kwamba and Victrix and Nacon and all these different controller companies and how they've contributed their products throughout the years. And then this was just one part. The other part, I just have pictures, but they actually had like really cool character art. So yeah, you could see that 2XKO had some stuff there, and you know, Cygames had their characters there, and you know, Under Night, and it was really cool because a lot of these like different pieces of art, I haven't really seen some of these. I think some of these were like drawn by like famous artists and stuff too. You can see Reina, yeah, some really cool looking stuff. And they also, in the museum, they had like a Moment 37 booth where you can actually try to do the moment in the game. And this, yeah, Shinkiro was there, right? Featured artist. He had like a meet and greet going all week. So day three, I arrived super early so I can buy a Shinkiro poster and get it signed by him, because if you want to do the meet and greet with Shinkiro, you had to go early and get a ticket, which they only had a limited amount of. So I decided to walk in really early so I can do that. And then this is basically me walking the show floor. So, you know, I think we showed this earlier, but yeah, the Arc System Works booth is right there, front and center. You can see the line. Like, this was like, the show floor hasn't even been open for an hour yet, and the line for Toukon is already getting crazy. Then you can see there's Artist Alley over there, and then next to that is the Capcom booth, so you could play Sagat, and they also had like a really cool jury thing over there, which I'm gonna show later. Right, we were able to play Ken at the City of the Wolves booth, the SNK booth, right? And they had a bunch of these different vendors selling all their stuff. Yeah, they had a bunch of, like, all the vendors and stuff were like kind of mixed into everything. So there was Artist Alley, and then there was like the official stuff just kind of mixed into everything else. Some of the bigger companies, I guess. Here's the big Virtua Fighter booth, right? They had a couple of big announcements there at EVO 2. I'm not actually sure what they were showing because I wasn't able to check it out. But here's the arcade area. Tons and tons and tons of retro arcade stuff, which is really cool. Right. Here's the Omocat booth with the Clutch HoloLive stuff. Yep. And they had like a card game here too. I think those were this was the company that was collabing with Tekken or something. Like Tekken characters are like in the card game now, or maybe that was something else, but yeah, I don't really play card games, so I didn't really check it out too much. I just saw a lot of people kind of over there dueling it out. Right, there was the Mortal Kombat booth with their collection. They had some pretty cool announcements too. Right, you can see there's pinball cabinets. I don't think I show it, but beyond this point is kind of like all the indie stuff. So all the indie games were kind of like in its own area, right? It was kind of like a small little like part of the convention. I thought this was cool. There was like little cabinets. They had, you know, like Street Fighter 6 set up like an old school cabinet style thing. Like it was pretty cool how they had those stuff set up, so you can kind of play like how you would in the arcade, right? And then you could see the Invincible Versus booth. This was pretty cool. There's the Tekken 8 booth, right? They had like this little coffee thing. They had like t-shirts and hats and stuff they were selling. I'm not super familiar with Tekken, so I'm not really sure what they're referencing there, but they were holding like matches on this stage throughout the day, and there was always a bunch of people there getting like really excited. That was pretty cool. Yeah, Tekken 8 had some pretty cool stuff to show off too, right? And then this is like the whole tournament area, like main tournament area, right? My station was like way in the back there. Yeah. And like I said, like it was my very first tournament ever. It's kind of unfortunate that like one of my matches was kind of like, because I was, I was handicapped during my last match, and I was actually doing pretty decent, so I wonder if I maybe would have won. Or I thought I was doing pretty good, considering my buttons, or the first time my buttons weren't working, and then the second time my buttons were switched. Yeah, like I said, I was pretty nervous, so I probably made a mistake while I was going through the controller menu. Man, kind of sucks that I kind of ended my first tournament run by doing something really dumb. But I still had a lot of fun. Like I really wanted to jump back in and start playing more matches after, like, it was not enough. I'm super ready to go back and just try again and actually do a button check before I start a match, so that I could properly play. But it was really fun. Here's the 2XKO booth, right? Everybody was trying out the new character, all the new balance changes. I think we're in there too. Right, here's some more stations. I think Marvel vs. Capcom was back here. I can see Brawlhalla. Right. That was pretty cool. And there's like bring your own controller stations. If you remember, we're walking towards it now, but the bring your own controller stations is like tournaments for games that are not like officially there. They're kind of like side tournaments, I guess, where it's like run by fans of those games. So that was pretty cool, right? And then here's kind of well, here's, I think this is like the main stage. This is the biggest screen in the main venue area. So a lot of like some of the bigger stuff was shown on that screen, because they had smaller screens throughout the convention center, which I think was mostly showing different parts of like pools, like top 24 or top 96, stuff like that. And then the main stage that I just had on screen was done for like a lot of like the finals for games that are just not in the top, like, yeah, I don't, like some of the smaller games basically. Here's the Cygames booth, right? I think all the EX characters they announced were playable. I saw somebody using Armaya, and she's like got a completely new move set, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Right, and here's Artist Alley, right? And beyond Artist Alley is the Bring Your Own Controller tournaments. Yeah, and this was basically the show floor, right? This is pretty much everything. I don't think I showed everything, but this is like a good chunk of the convention. Yeah, and here, yep, this was finals. You could see the main arena. I actually, when I bought my badge, I didn't buy a bracelet to go to the main arena area, so I'm basically in the poverty seats, right? And Max was doing a watch party on the side. This was a really popular area in the convention, so you know, if you didn't have a bracelet, you can go to like these different watch parties. I saw there was another watch party going on. Oh, and this is grand finals. Yeah, this is grand finals. I didn't capture too much footage, but Kakeru and Menard, right? This is the final match of the night. Menard was basically dominating throughout the night. You can see it's 0-2 right now, and he's about to close it out to win the entire thing. So this was really cool. And that was it. That was EVO 2025. So, like I said, it was my first time going. I wish I did better in my tournament, but everything else was really, really fun. I had a blast playing like all the new stuff, walking the show floor. You know, I bought a bunch of merch, right? Which I'll probably show some of the merch I bought. There was like this really cool booth. There was an artist booth that was like, I waited in line, no joke, probably almost an hour to buy like this really cool Jury skateboard. I guess the only thing I could say now is good job, EVO. Yeah, it was really really good time. I will say though that the one thing that was very different was I wasn't able to follow a lot of the new announcements they were doing, because you know, most of the time I spent was like waiting in line, either to play a new game or to buy merch, or you know, a lot of waiting in line and walking the show floor to do stuff, not really paying attention to a lot of like the new announcements they had for a bunch of these games. That was a little different, right? Because I'm used to watching it on stream and catching all that stuff live. Here, not so much. I had to do like a quick catch up at the end of the day. But, you know, not really a huge issue, just something I kind of noticed and kind of missed a little, that excitement around like a new announcement. But yeah, overall, 2 thumbs up. Hopefully I can do it again sometime. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.